And we're back.
Wow.
Hello.
Heyo.
Hello.
Hey,
All right.
Chase. It's in
Yo.
Chase.
Yeah, I might have come in this with a little bit too much energy.
Hello.
We're all like, hello. Haha. Chase is tied up. It's great.
Kinky.
Chase is learning the
No,
benefits of leather.
that's not what's his name? What's his name is Kinky.
Well,
Kinky shit.
I'm pretty sure
No, that's when
what's his name does think that's kinky.
Yep.
no, that's when you bite it and it bites you and nothing happens.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm
what
pretty
happens
sure
if you bite each other and you both die?
that's correlation, not causation.
No. If you both die, you're both poisonous.
Ah, right. Makes sense.
Well, couldn't it also then be that we're both venomous?
It's what we call Schrodinger's poison.
Ah.
Ah, okay.
See, they don't know if you're poisonous or venomous until after they get the test results.
Yes.
Congratulations, turns out you're both.
Hey.
And now we're back to Chase realizing that he's not really into leather all that much.
He really isn't.
Oh my gosh.
It's just not his thing.
Despite Brian's best efforts to poke him with this stick and say, come on, you love it, he's like, you know what? No, I don't think I do.
I like the idea that Brian just got like a PowerPoint presentation all about the benefits of leather, and she's just like, please, just let this presentation end already.
See, look at his face. He's just bored, you know?
Bored
He's like, come on.
bored to tears.
Yep. He's like, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what you make the safe word, it's just not my thing.
Oh god. You know what the best part about all this is? I don't even know if I can keep this in the video because YouTube has a weird thing about like, the first 5 minutes you can't make any like weird jokes or use curse words.
Yeah, exactly. It's
In the
so
first 5 minutes?
stupid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
after that you're like fine, it's fine and allowed. So I might like add some type of fluff
Wait,
or whatever
what?
at the beginning.
Yeah. If first 5 minutes, if you curse, swear, anything like that, you get like copyright strike. But after 5 minutes, you're good to go.
Oh,
I
that's-
know I could never be a YouTuber.
Hold on.
Yeah, same.
Hold on.
Let's say,
I
can't
want
you just
this-
mark the video for adult content?
Yeah, and then no one will ever see it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I want this squeaked because I don't want it to not work. But
Okay.
well,
I mean, we might be 5 minutes in already. And who knows? Maybe I'll tack this on at the end of the earlier episode. We'll see.
he'll just be like, well. I love how Hannah couldn't say it. And you guys think I'm TJ.
No, whenever I'm voice acting, a lot of, like, I'm okay with saying f*** while I'm voice acting.
That's the
There, I
beautiful
said
thing
it.
about watching these videos when I'm by myself and bored is they're not monetized because you're not big enough yet. It's fantastic.
I don't plan on monetizing them anytime soon because honestly, like, figuring out how the monetization thing would even work between all of us is a nightmare to begin with.
I demand royalties. I expect a cent.
Exactly. I demand royalties of exactly 2 pennies.
Yeah, I mean, if we break it out by percentage of time on, and we're not doing any of the editing, so really, percentage of time on per us, less editing, we get a cent. So, I do demand my cent next time I see you, Alan.
Okay.
Cough, cough, hint, hint. You don't have to pay us, Alan.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Unless we hit
okay,
it super big, then
so,
please
hold
do
up.
pay us.
Hold up, here. I'm going to just say this real quick. If this did somehow actually become financially successful, people can come back to this video and call me out if I don't do this. I would want to work out some type of fair trade, not trade, but like fair agreement to get everyone paid. And I wanted to try and do some type of system where like I pay you by like what videos you show up in and all that,
Right.
Yeah.
That should make sense.
I'll just go for the book deal. That's fine.
Literally makes sense.
I want exactly a
Write
penny
my
for
story.
every
No,
single
please,
video.
everyone. Alan doesn't need to pay me if you all can get me a full-time gig on Broadway. You hear me, everyone? All right, internet, go.
Like, do you need to
doesn't
be
have
on stage,
Right.
or can you do behind the scene work?
I
Alan
mean,
doesn't have
Sam, you know me. And let's be clear. Life doesn't work without techies, and they have a way more important, way more stable, et cetera, job. I'm an attention whore. And I want the people applauding for me.
Okay,
and
that's
laughing
fair.
at
Jinx has become a reality.
Please, let's not
Thanks,
reference.
Doug.
Let's not reference Live and Learn right now, please. Now, I will also say this real quick. DJ, your little request is actually hilarious to me that you chose this video, this one. Think about that. You chose one of the darkest moments in one of the darkest routes of a furry visual novel that is a psychological gay horror story.
And I'm
Think
not
about
sure
that. How many people are
well-
going to be watching this?
Well, and
Fair
also, I'm not
People
sure
with
how.
connections.
Remind me next time we play later, Alligator, to make this statement again.
Too late.
I was gonna-
Lady Gallagher is done.
This is
Well,
the moment when Chase...
Deltarune, there we go. When we're doing
He'll
Deltarune.
do anything to get on the big stage. He probably should have thought about that.
Okay, please repeat that, Harry, because I don't know if that got heard.
I
Oh,
said,
I heard
this is the moment when Chase realized that when he said, I'd do anything to get on the big stage, he probably should have thought about that more.
Oh Lord! Oh no! No!
See, you can see it in his face. He's
Uh.
like, is this really worth the role in Stacks? I don't know, is that the new play people are talking about?
Stacks? What?
Stacks.
Are you talking about 6 or?
Stacks? Or some...
Well,
I don't
six
know.
six wouldn't have a role for Chase because that's mainly about Henry's
Oh,
wives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know Stack or something that sounds similar
I
to
don't-
Stacks.
The only plays I know of is Alexander Hamilton
Yeah,
Cats,
Hamilton.
Mhm.
So.
Mm-hmm.
and something in the West, West Side Story? Yeah, West Side
Oh.
Story.
Yeah.
Those are the only 3 I know of, so...
So the only reference I could make right now for Chase in Broadway would be that he's basically like trying to be Dear Evan Hansen but fucking it up because he broke his leg instead of his arm.
Woof. Wow.
His face is like, the things I do to get the role.
Wow. And with that,
All right, let's go ahead and get this going.
While this goes on.
While this goes on, I lay quietly against my platform, trying not to start crying again. My mind keeps wandering back just a few hours ago, how everything seemed fine for the most part. I keep wishing I could go back to the beginning of the week. Thinking about that makes me sentimental, and I'm longing to see Leo, TJ, Carl, Jenna, and even Flynn again. Where are they all at right now? Wait, no, that's not what it said, was it? Where are they all right now? Okay, that is actually a sentence. Just didn't work in my brain. Where are they all right now? Duke said things were bad out there. Are they all in some sort of trouble? If that's the case, the cops should be here by now. Someone would have gotten the word out, wouldn't they? If people were murdering each other like what happened to Janice, there's no way that wouldn't be the case. Brian lets out another explosive laugh, wiggling his feet on the armrest of the couch. Earlier, he tried to feed me some dried cereal, but it was like cardboard in my mouth, and after only a handful, I couldn't eat it anymore. I'm just thankful that he's preoccupied with something else right now. There's a soft knock at the door, and Brian jumps, quickly changing the channel to golf before he gets up and lumbers over to the door. He pauses, then rifles through some magazines on the small table next to the couch. He pulls out a handgun that looks cartoonishly small in his hands before making his way to the door. I weakly turn my head in his direction and watch Brian open the door with a crack. He chuckles.
World's going to shit and you're still coming here for more, eh?
Brian pushes the door open a bit more, and I catch sight of a skinny, malnourished polecat. Who's gonna be Clint? Because I can't remember who was Clint before. I think it was Andrew?
Could be.
I
don't
suppose
know.
I could.
Yeah, if
you
Harry's
gonna
gonna be
say, Seth?
Kudzu, then sure.
Yeah.
Clint is looking up at Brian, appearing even more disheveled than usual.
So, are we doing...
Clint takes a step up onto the first step and looks into the trailer, immediately spotting me. He stares, the shock on his face almost comical. Brian turns to see what he's looking at, as if he'd forgotten I was even there. He gives a start before shoving Clint back out the door.
I'm full today. Already got someone taking your spot.
Clint's out of my line of sight, but I can hear him shuffling around the dead vegetation.
Please, I really need something right now. We can do it outside.
There's a moment of silence as Brian seems to contemplate that.
No. I got some business to take care of. Tomorrow, maybe.
Clint starts to whine again, but Brian swings the door shut with a bang.
Ha! Fucking dopehead.
Brian walks back into the room, looking down at me, then back at the TV.
Probably shouldn't let him see you, though.
He mumbles before sitting back down and switching the channel back to the cartoon. I stare up at my reflection. Even from here, I can see that my eyes are bloodshot, the fur on my face matted. There are dark spots on my shirt too, and distantly, I wonder if Brian had broken ribs when he punched me. Then I remember that his hand had been bleeding when he did that. I feel strange right now, numb. It feels kind of good after the whirlwind of emotions I had earlier. I still hadn't caught up to everything that's happened since I was in that diner. Would I ever be able to? Would I have time if Brian planned to? A tinge of panic pierces through my fog of disassociation, and I clench my eyes shut, screwing up my face as I try not to start crying again. Brian snorts again at something on the TV. I open my eyes to the distraught otter laying on the wooden torture contraption. Why is there a mirror on your ceiling? I surprise myself a little by asking the question. Apparently, I really don't give a fuck at this point. I see Brian look over at me from my peripheral vision.
You really want to know?
I shrug the best I can, continuing to stare passively up at the ceiling. The movement sends electric tingles through my arms, which are completely numb at this point.
Well?
Brian shifts around on the couch as he tries to get a better look at me.
When I has my fun, I likes them to see what I'm doing.
I stare up at the mirror, my expression still blank.
I mean, it's not just about what I'm feeling. What they're feeling is important too.
Fear. That's what Brian likes.
Sure, I can choke you all I want, and cut you all I want. But when I do that, you're not thinking about what's actually happening.
Brian shifts to a sitting position, now more interested in our conversation than his cartoons. I realize now I've probably made a mistake.
Wanna see?
I keep my face blank, staring at myself. I don't say anything. Brian gets up anyway and comes around to stand over me, above my head, blocking my view of the mirror. His reeking stench fills my nostrils, but still, I try not to give him the satisfaction of seeing how afraid I'm starting to become. His massive hands reach around my head and start to fiddle with something I can't see. With one quick motion, the strap comes back down over my neck and my eyes widen. I grip my teeth and try to press my head as hard as I can into the platform behind my head to lessen the strain. It's not a lot of pressure, but it's enough to make me want to gag. Brian chuckles again.
See? You're probably only thinking about how it's hard to breathe right now. Just trying to figure out how to make it stop. But...
Brian leans back, revealing a terror-stricken otter on the ceiling, his eyes bulging, teeth bared.
Now you see what's happening to you. Your brain telling you, yeah, this is really fucking happening.
The letter squeaks a little as he pulls it down tighter. I start to writhe at this point, and I see my tongue sticking out, my face a mask of horror.
You feel more. And that's what I like.
Brian comes back into my vision, his expression different. He's really searching my face now, like he's looking for something.
Maybe you like it too.
Finally, with a final squeak of leather, Brian lets go, and I gasp hungrily for air. Brian pets my head while I cough, inhaling shakily.
Don't exaggerate. That wasn't nothing.
He moves away again, and slumps back into the couch, pulling at his squeak.
Your buddy Clint gets it way worse.
I choose not to stare at the choking otter on the ceiling, and instead look at the window, feeling fresh tears rolling down my face. I'm not sure if it's from the choking or from the black hole in my chest. I watch the leaves rustling around in the wind and think about where the others are, why no one's come to help me. Finally, I turn my head back to the ceiling. The blank expression has returned. Brian continues to chuckle at his cartoons, and despite myself, I ask another question. Have you ever killed someone? For the first time, Brian ignores me. I don't say anything for the rest of the day. I stare into the darkness, the only faint source of light coming from the moonlit leaves through the window. It's been less than 24 hours since I've been kidnapped. Still, it makes no sense that someone hasn't found me. Is what Duke said about the town true? I wonder what Leo is doing right now, if what he's going through is just as bad. I doubt it is. At least Duke seemed slightly less unhinged. I give a soft, trembling sigh, my head still throbbing from the day's events. The thunderous snoring from Brian is literally shaking the platform I'm on, and though I drifted off a few times, I can't sleep. He's right next to me, his stained couch apparently doubling as his bed. I shift around on the contraption for what feels like the 100th time, trying to get comfortable when I feel something. There's more give in my right arm than I remember. In fact, it's incredibly loose. I pause and experimentally wiggle my arm around before easily pulling my hand out from the restraint. I freeze, disbelieving, not wanting to believe in case it isn't somehow true. Painfully, I crane my neck to look at my right arm. Though it's dark, I can see my arm is clearly free, my elbow on the board, hand in the air. I swallow hard, listening to Brian's snores again to make sure he's actually asleep. I try to keep my breathing even, not wanting to make any more sound than I need to, but I'm almost sobbing with relief at this point. Now I'm able to partially sit up and make short work on the left arm restraint. Fully sitting up now, I do away with the final 2 ankle restraints and slide off the table quietly. Brian is still snoring at full volume, and it covers up what little sound I make. Making my way over the messy floor, I find the steps and try not to stumble down them to open the door. Incredibly, there's no squeaking or rattling as I do, and before I know it, I'm outside in the cool air. I run through the woods and onto the road, sobbing with joy now as I see Leo's house. The lights are on, and as I'm running towards it, I think I even see Carl's horns through the window. I run up the steps onto the porch and bang on the door. Leo! Carl! I got out! Open the door! I try the handle and it opens, swinging inward, to blackness. I stare, trying to comprehend. You really fell for that? I hear my own voice, but it isn't me that said that. Instead, it's higher pitched, like I'm hearing it from a video recording rather than my own throat. Then I'm sucked down into the blackness and slammed hard back onto the wooden platform. All at once, I realize what happened, and my heart feels like it's drops through my chest. Of course, a dream. I'm back in the hot, stifling trailer, and it looks even darker than it did in my dream. I close my eyes and start to cry quietly. It feels like I just found out that I'm locked up in the Psycho's trailer all over again. I turn my head and look out the window above Brian, longing for some daylight. And then I see two white eyes set against a black face, staring back in at me. I jump. What the fuck? Am I still dreaming? I see the two beige-colored ears above the head. Kudzu? I gasp again, quieter. I'm overcome with relief once again, but the fear I'm still dreaming is almost overpowering it. I wave my left hand as much as I can, but I'm not sure he can see it. I realize that none of the light from the window is falling on me. Kudzu moves to the side, then back again, squinting, clearly trying to see inside. I think about making a noise, calling out his name, but I have no idea how deep of a sleeper Brian is. As if on cue, Brian gives a louder snore and rolls over. Kudzu seems to have heard it, his big ears perking before he ducks down. My head hurts just losing sight of him, or my heart hurts just losing sight of him, and I strain at my bonds. Brian seems to be waking up, though, mumbling something in his sleep.
Hmm? No, you're dead.
I pull with my right arm again, in case my dream had been onto something. It doesn't budge.
And
Brian's really starting to kick around now, his massive form rolling over onto his stomach, rubbing his face into the pillow. He starts making loud, gasping sounds, and he starts to get to his knees on the bed.
back off.
He holds his hands up, snarling.
You're dead. You're dead!
I stare at him, almost forgetting about Kudzu. His eyes are open, and they snap to me, his hands still out.
No.
His face is etched with horror, eyes wide and white in the darkness. He backs up against the back of the couch as he continues to stare. I stare back at him, unsure of what he's going to do. About 10 seconds later, his expression starts to melt from horror to confusion. I continue to stare back, bracing for another explosion from him, for whatever reason. His shoulders droop again, and he frowns at me.
What? Did you see her?
My mouth is dry, so I have to swallow a few times before I can answer. Who? Brian doesn't respond, and starts to look around the trailer. I see Kudzu starting to poke his head up again. At this point, I made up in my mind, and I want to escape tonight. I'm not going to spend another minute with this maniac. Making a decision that could mean life or death so suddenly is terrifying and exhilarating. I don't give myself time to think about it. Brian. He doesn't answer, starting to get up and look around. Brian, I have to go to the bathroom. Brian sighs as he flips on the light. Kudzu drops out of view again. Brian heaves a huge sigh before turning to the counter. He reaches for a pan and dumps some murky water onto the sink. I wrinkle my nose. He shrugs at me.
What? This'll do.
No, I have to use your toilet. My stomach is feeling really bad right now. Brian turns and really looks at me.
Like what? You gotta puke?
I shift on the platform. No, I think I have diarrhea. Brian pulls a look of extreme disgust, which is kind of funny for someone who apparently never showers.
Oh, come on.
He glares at me like it's my fault I might be sick. He looks around for a while, then back down at the pan. The bear seems to quickly disregard that idea and sets it back down on the corner. He comes over next to me and starts to undo the restraints.
Did you try anything?
No, I promise. I just really need to go. Brian grumbles as he starts to roughly undo my restraints. I take care not to look at his as it's pressed uncomfortably close to my face. As he pulls my right arm out, I gasp in shock and pain. It feels like a million needles are poking through it as he pushes my arm down next to my body. Wait, ah, fuck! Brian pauses as he watches me grimace in pain, and I worry he's getting off on it. At that moment, though, there's some rustling next to the window, and I try to groan over it. Fuck! The bear looks at me, bewildered and annoyed.
What?
Now my dream seems even more ridiculous that I'd be able to so easily run off. Everything's fallen asleep. Just take it slower. Brian sighs even louder and gets to work on my left arm anyway. This time he doesn't yank my arm out, though, and lets me slowly move it on my own. It's not nearly as bad as my right arm, which is still violently tingling, but I have to grip my teeth as I move it to rest on my chest. Luckily, my legs are fine, and I'm able to move them easily after Brian takes them out. It makes me worry about what I'm going to try, since I'm not nearly as strong as I should be. Brian is clearly on guard as he helps me sit up from the contraption, keeping his distance as he holds onto my arm. I sit there for a moment, letting the circulation return back to my limbs as I try not to fall over from the dizziness. Brian finally gives a growl of annoyance and pulls me off the wooden platform. I realize that this is the moment I have to make my move. There's nothing nearby for me to grab, so instead I swing with everything I have to smash my fist up against the side of Brian's face. Something cracks in my hand and pain runs up my arm. I gasp and cringe and Brian grunts. Brian pauses and slowly brings his hand up to feel the side of his face. I guess I'd hoped I'd be able to knock him out with one punch. But doing that as an honor to a bear, especially a bear like Brian, would have been quite the feat. Brian does seem stunned though, and that's all I need as I take in a huge breath and scream as loud as I can. Kudzu! Brian whirls on me, swinging his fist along with him. I duck immediately, covering my head with one arm, the other still locked in Brian's grasp. He only partially misses, his fist catching the top of my head and my arm. It knocks me to the ground, and I sit there in a daze. I don't have long to collect myself because Brian is pulling a foot back to kick me.
Shut up!
I roll to the side and start trying to back away while I'm crouched, but Brian yanks me up by my arm, my head jerking back with the force. Now I'm starting to wonder if Kudzu ended up leaving. If that's the case, I'm definitely dead because there's no way I'm gonna break his grasp. As I'm thinking this, the door bangs open. Brian is in the middle of drawing his fist back when it happens, and he freezes, looking over at the door. Kudzu stands there, his eyes wide behind his black mask, chest heaving. He's scared, I can tell, but Brian's shock gives me the opening I was looking for. I reach in between his legs and grab his squeak. Weirdly enough, the first thought I have is about how fucking big it is. It takes both my hands to wrap around it fully, and when I do, I twist and yank down as hard as I can. I pour all my fear and anger into the attack, snarling as I do. The scream that Brian lets out is so high-pitched, I feel like every glass in the trailer is going to explode. The attack is all I have left, so when his retaliation comes, I don't do anything to defend myself. Luckily, it's not a punch or a kick, but rather he grabs the fur on the back of my head, along with my shirt, and tries pulling me back. My face stretches back as I stubbornly hold on and just yank down even harder. His squeak is stretched and distorted so badly it's barely even recognizable as squeak. His screaming suddenly cuts off with the sound of a deep, sickening smack. Immediately, Brian's body crumples onto me as he falls onto his hands and knees. It happens in a way that he splayed over me, his face inches from mine. I have time to smell his gag-inducing breath before the sound happens again. This time I see Kudzu swinging something down hard from overhead, and Brian's head jolts. I watch as his eyes lose their focus on me, and he slumps down. I turn my head sideways as he comes to rest on my body, crushing the air from my lungs. Kudzu is there immediately, and pushes Brian's body aside to the point of being able to pull me out from under. He pulls me into a sitting position next to him.
Are you okay?
He's shaking, and I can hear his ragged breath in my ear. The contrast from being engulfed in Brian's stench to smelling Kudzu's shampooed fur and peppermint breath is striking. I can't speak, and instead I lean against Kudzu and wrap my arms around him as I sob. Kudzu holds me as he looks me over.
Can you walk?
I nod silently as I press my face into the fur of his shoulder.
Alright, come on, we can't stay here.
He stands slowly, keeping me in the embrace as he guides me towards the door. I don't remember much about the walk back to Kudzu's house, aside from the stilted flashes of dirt and sagebrush. It's dark and hot, and my shirt immediately starts to stick to my sweaty fur. My legs are so numb that I don't even know if I'm moving them right. Kudzu has to hold on to me the entire way so that I don't fall over. Crickets chirp all around us, but every few minutes I hear shouting and screams in the distance. I try to look over my shoulder to see if Brian is coming after us, but Kudzu grunts and tells me to keep watching my steps. Some circulation has returned to my legs, and I'm able to at least match Kudzu's stride over the uneven dirt road. Still, it feels like 1,000 needles are stabbing up my feet and legs in waves with every step I take. I'm genuinely afraid I'm gonna wake up any second and find myself still stuck in Brian's trailer. None of this seems real. I'm still watching my feet in the ground, so I don't notice Kudzu's house until I almost kick the bottom step of his rusty trailer. Just the sight of a trailer is sending chills up my spine, even though Brian's trailer looks very different compared to Kudzu's. We stand in front of his door for a while as the raccoon fishes through his pockets for his keys. It's made extra difficult with me hanging on him. I can stand on my own if you...
Got it.
Kudzu whips out a small gold-colored key before sliding into the lock. Once we're inside, Kudzu immediately kicks the door open behind us, or kicks the door closed behind us before reaching back to turn the deadlock. The inside of Kudzu's trailer is the opposite of its exterior. It's brightly lit and tidy, nothing like Brian's place. It's a little cramped as any other trailer would be, but the furniture is arranged neatly, and the kitchen is spotless. Everything looks way newer than the trailer is on the outside. I imagine the raccoon did a lot of work to get it to look like this. Kudzu quickly guides me to a small love seat and makes it as if to lay me down. I put a hand against his chest, feeling my stomach turn. Wait, I think I'd rather sit up.
Okay.
Do you need anything? Food? Or a drink?
Kudzu's looking into my eyes with his dark browns, the brows above them furrowed in deep concern. I nod slowly so as not to upset my stomach again. Just water, please.
Sure.
Kudzu quickly hurries off to the kitchen, and I slowly lean into the cushions behind me. I'm not tired at all, but I feel numb, and not just physically. My arms throb, and it feels like the leather straps are still bound around my wrists. It feels like they're being pulled by an invisible force. Like if I relaxed, my arms would float back up into that fixed position. I shudder, hugging my body, then looking around, trying to find something else to focus on. A grouping of 3 pictures frames on a small side table next to the love seat catches my attention. From where I'm sitting, I can see Kudzu in one of them beaming at the camera. It's actually kind of weird to see him smiling like that. There's an arm around his neck, and I start to lean over a bit to see who it is.
Here.
Kudzu appears in front of me again, holding out a glass of water. I straighten back up against the cushions.
Okay, quickly get into it. I gotta get going.
Okay then, I hope you have a good night.
See
Have
ya.
a good night, everyone.
Bye, Sam.
Good night.
Speaking of, when should we try and wrap this up?
I'm fine to go until everybody else is done.
I say for
10:30, 10:40 or so.
Okay. Then
Yeah,
when we
not
get
40 sounds
when we
good.
get another like a cut scene or when we get another scene change, unless it takes too long, we'll stop there. Okay.
That sounds like it.
Alright.
okay.
Once I take the glass, he holds out his other hand with 2 white pills resting in the black pad of his palm.
Ace,
Acetaminophen.
I'm sorry, what?
Acetaminophen.
Acetaminophen. If you're in pain.
I definitely am, so I take it and the glass without a word and swallow it down. For a second, my stomach sours and I feel like it's gonna come back up, but only for a second. Kudzu steps back and watches me. Even though his face maintains that stoic, almost glare, I see his hands fidgeting together in front of his stomach. I nod weakly at a recliner across from me. You want to sit or something? Kudzu seems to consider, then walks over to the recliner. He sits on the very edge of the cushion, back rigid, continuing to stare at me. I take another sip of water, less this time so as not to upset my stomach. It looks like he wants to say something, but keeps silent, lips pressed together. Kudzu watches me the whole time. What's wrong? Kudzu opens his mouth, then closes it, thinking before opening it again.
Are you okay?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I'm not gonna die, I think. I'm not really sure if I'm completely okay. Everything still feels numb. My thoughts feel sluggish too, and something that's been nagging at the back of my mind since I got here suddenly bumbles back up to the surface. Did you call the police? I absentmindedly reach for my phone in my pocket, but it's not there. I have no idea where it is at this point. Was it still at Leo's house? There's a tight look of consternation on Kudzu's face.
My phones aren't working. Even my landline isn't working.
My foggy brain tries to process this. What? Why? Did the phone lines break or something? Kudzu shakes his head.
I don't know.
Should we walk to my car or something and drive to Peyton? I look back out the pitch black window. We need to tell someone right now. Janice and Leo's still out there. There's no way Janice hasn't been found by now. There should be police everywhere. Where are the cops? I turn back to Kudzu, feeling sick again. Kudzu doesn't say anything, and he's got a strange look on his face, like he's trying to figure out how to tell me something. Finally, he stands up.
I'll figure something out. Listen. I think you need to get some rest.
I frown. But we need to get someone out here. What if Brian comes after me? I shrink in on myself at the thought, feeling goosebumps erupt all over my arms. Kudzu steps closer to me and awkwardly reaches out a hand on my shoulder to put a hand on my shoulder.
You'll be fine. Do you want to lay down in my bed?
I don't say anything. My head's still trying to catch up.
It's a waterbed.
Kudzu adds, as if that makes the offer more tempting. He thinks.
You hungry? I have some muffins. It might help you get sleep.
I shake my head. What? No, I want to get the fuck out of here. A loud pop makes me jump and I stand up. I'm not sure what I'm about to do, but Kudzu reaches out gently to hold on to me before pulling me away from the window. Faintly, I can hear someone shouting outside, but it's far away. What was that? Is someone shooting? I look at Kudzu, starting to feel desperate. He puts an arm around me, at the same time moving towards the end of the trailer, where a big bed is tucked in.
I don't know. A lot of things are happening right now. So, I think we should stay here to be safe, okay? For now, at least.
I hold on to the raccoon, unsure of what to do.
Listen,
He holds me by both arms, and I look back at him.
you gotta trust me that we can't leave right now. I'll explain it after you've rested for a bit.
He pauses.
I can tell you're not really here right now.
Here, right now?
You'll feel better once you wake up, alright?
The thought of laying down is tempting, despite feeling like I'm going insane. If I sleep, I don't have to think. Just blank my mind and rest. My head is buzzing, and I feel like laying down might straighten things out. Kudzu gently but firmly forces me to sit down on the bed. Despite his slender build, I feel the strength in his lean muscles. But what about Brian and Duke? Kudzu slowly pushes me back onto the bed, the water underneath the surface sloshing faintly. I haven't been on an actual waterbed for years. Carl used to have one.
90s.
Yep. And then everyone realized that they popped.
They pop. They go all over everywhere.
Yep.
So the only time I've ever been on a waterbed was in like the early 2000s, where one of my friend's parents had a waterbed.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so cool.
Same. I was at a sleepover where like we got to kind of test out the waterbed and we're like, cool. And then in the morning, like we were sleeping in the basement, and like in the morning, like we'd see some water dripping down from the ceiling, and then we're like, what's that?
Oh no!
And we found out that the waterbed popped that night.
Oh wow!
Yep.
It's really funny.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure they didn't get another waterbed after that.
Understandable. Where is Carl? Where is everyone? I want to go back to the motel and find my friends again, but Kudzu seems adamant on keeping me here.
I got Leo's gun. Saw it on the ground when I went to check on you guys.
He must be able to tell from the look on my face that I'm not at ease because he reaches out again to rest a hand on my chest. It's still awkward, but it's comforting at least.
I'll be here all night. Nothing's gonna happen.
That does make me feel better. At least well enough to maybe get some sleep. Okay. I stare at the ceiling as I lay back. I still feel numb, but in a way that helps me blank my mind. In what feels like less than a minute, I pass out. Alright, I think we should definitely call it here.
All right.
Okie dokie.
Alright, say goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.